Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers. Purdue won the toss. They have deferred until the second half, so Wisconsin will get the ball first.
And the wind that Dr. Punch mentioned in the open, while crisp, it's sideways. It goes across the field right now, so not into the face of the offense or the defense necessarily to start the game, although expect it to shift during the game.
J.D. Dellinger to kick it away, and Natrell Jamerson bobbles the ball, picks it up, now falls on it back at the 13. So not very good field position for Wisconsin to start the ball game. Alex Hornibrook, the redshirt freshman quarterback out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. He took over midway through the fourth game. 6'4", 219. He's hitting almost 60% of his passes. The stat that stands out there, 7 picks to go with his 7 touchdown passes.
But just in time as the weather turns, Wisconsin's offensive line is really solidified, especially the middle. John Dietzen, Michael Dieter, and Ben Benshaw, center guard, are really good young physical players for this run game.
Corey Clement, the back. Instead, they give it to Cephas on the end around. And Cephas takes it up across the 20 to the 21-yard line, a gain of 8. This Purdue defense has been gutted against the run all year long. They're 122nd in the country, giving up almost 250 yards a game on the ground.
And they are missing a lot of players. I see Jake Replogle in there right now. He's a senior who has not been able to play much with concussion issues, but he practiced this week. They said he'd be able to play. He is going right now.
And Replogle is in on the tackle. He may be the best player on this team as he stops Corey Clement at the line of scrimmage.
He is their best player, and they've told us they're being careful medically with these guys. Of course, it's senior day here at Purdue, but these guys have been battling some headaches. Again, he was able to practice, so I guess was okay to play. And but they say he's going to have an NFL future if he wants it. Obviously he had to set out a lot of games this year. But in interim head coach Jared Parker's 5th game, Replogle makes a play, and that's been a while. The guy's not been able to play for them.
Dario Gunbo-Wale checks in as the running back. He goes out as a safety valve. They throw it underneath the wheelwright. Wheelwright fighting for yardage and has enough for a first down up near the 25-yard line.
And one of the things, if you have a great defense, this team is built more like a Alabama SEC or NFL team, where with an offensive line like this, look how tall that offensive line is. You're short if you're 6'5" in that group, but they're physical guys, and they'll lean on them. This is a group that for the last 3 games has finally settled in with a starting group and with a great defense and able to have a short controlled passing game, and 4 now running backs, 3 to complement Clement. This is a pretty good group.
Fake to Clement. Hornibrook with plenty of time. He'll try to get a couple of yards and gets out of bounds. He picks up 2.
And, of course, at the start of the season, Bart Houston was a starting quarterback, and Alex Hornibrook took over. Houston will play. They're not sold that Hornibrook is the guy. And Paul Chryst, the head coach and former quarterback himself at Wisconsin, saying that Houston, a more physical, fiery guy, a big guy who gives him something in the run game, will play, can throw it. But Hornibrook took the job a little more accurate in that intermediate and short passing game, which then, of course, complements that big, powerful run game.
Been a great coaching journey for him as Clement goes off right tackle as a hole and dives out to the 35. Chryst was born in Madison, Wisconsin. Coached here, was the offensive coordinator from 06 until 11. Got that head coaching opportunity, left 3 years for Pitt, and then his alma mater came calling, and delighted to be back. He is a guy who has enjoyed every stop as an assistant or a head coach. He's never taken a job, I don't believe, as the next stepping stone. He took the job because he wanted it, and he is such a nice man to be around.
And he has a great connection to Mike Riley, the head coach now at Nebraska here in this conference, a team that Wisconsin is battling for the West, in that while after 2 years of being a graduate assistant, he finished his career at Wisconsin. He went to be a graduate assistant at West Virginia. He was looking for a job, ended up in the World League of American Football, where he coached under Mike Riley and then coached again for him at Oregon State twice, San Diego, got some jobs in Canada, and so they are connected and very good friends.
Bradrick Shaw knocked down by Replogle, who has already been on 2 tackles. His 3 younger brothers all played at Indiana, so he stayed in the state, but not at the same school.
And you can see the athleticism. He followed the pulling guard that time. He's a tall guy with some range. Again, he's missed a lot of time. He played a half the other day, and they did not play in the second half. So battling some headache issues. So let's hope he's healthy. It's senior day, and hopefully he can give it his all.
To tell you how good he is, last year he had 60 tackles as a defensive lineman. That is a ridiculous number. Draw play to Ogunbo Wale, and he is stuffed by Replogle again, who's on a pace to have 60 tackles in this game.
Well, there's a term, and I learned it in the NFL. When a guy's been hurt for a while, you know, all they do is train and work out, and they have fresh legs. It is late November. The guys from Wisconsin have been pounding. This guy has not had a lot of contact. He's been in the weight room. He's just been running a lot, so he looks fresh. Of course, he's an top NFL prospect, so that helps. But he does look like he has a little extra pop today.
3rd and 10 for Hornibrook. Blitz coming. Hangs in the pocket, throws as he's hitting. It's incomplete. Too low for Jazz Peavy, who was open.
A really nice call by Ross Ells, first-year defensive coordinator from Purdue, calling a blitz here on a down. You get to that down and distance, and you get a good blitz. You get C.J. Parker coming in. You also had Marcus Bailey, who, with Replogle out, has been their best defensive player. So a good get off the field for Purdue and a good timely blitz that was executed.
The faster you can make a quarterback throw it on 3rd and 10, the better chance you have of not letting them get 10. Lottie to kick it away.
Well, you can see the one there.
And it will go out of bounds just at the 34-yard line. 29 yards on the punt from Lottie. Early first quarter, Earl Hazel, a lot of high hopes, never materialized. He was only 9-33, dismissed after a 3-3 start this year. And Jared Parker was named the interim coach. And we spent time with him on 2 different occasions this year. This guy really has a future in this business.
Very impressive young man he put together. He was the recruiting coordinator and wide receiver coach. Mike Lipinski, the new athletic director, hired him because of his unique relationship with the players. Parker is a very engaging, bright, thoughtful guy, and he does not have a chance, I don't think, to get the job here. I think Lipinski will go outside, but this team has not been playing or practicing like a very depleted team because they have so many injuries, or a 3-win team. They have played. We saw them against Nebraska in the 4 games that he's coached. They've been in it, tied or leading at halftime in 3 or 4 of those ball games. So they've been competitive.
Blau on the roll on 2nd down, and he'll just throw it away. Talking to him yesterday, Parker, you're right, a very impressive young guy. And you can tell that the players have responded to him. But the bottom line in this business is wins, and he's very realistic. He knows he's already come to terms with the fact that he really doesn't have a shot here.
But he and this entire staff have remained focused. And again, this is a team, we talked about all the injuries on defense. They lost maybe their best receiver in Dominique Young a few weeks ago, but this whole staff has bought into working for these young men who have some time left here. And also, as the recruiting coordinator, he's continued to run the recruiting just as if he was going to have the job, so that when the new staff comes in, if there is a new staff, the board is already set up. They've stayed committed with the kids that are still looking at the school. So they've done a really nice job for Purdue in a tough situation.
Blau flushed and taken down, gained maybe 1. Ryan Connolly knocked him down. Blau certainly has had a very good year passing the ball, completing almost 60% of his throws. He's approaching 3,000 yards. He's number 1 passing in the Big Ten, 292.1 yards a game.
And he beat out the guy Austin Appleby, who's going to start for Florida tonight against Danny Etling, another Purdue transfer who was beaten out by Austin Appleby, who's going to start for LSU. So the cradle of quarterback continues.
That pass knocked away by Sojourn Shelton. They have 2 pretty good cover corners on this Wisconsin defense. And as a group, They are tied for third in the country in scoring defense, allowing 12.7 points a game. That's even better than last year when they led the nation in scoring defense.
And what a great transition from Dave Aranda, who was the defensive coordinator last year, decided to try out the SEC and went to LSU. We mentioned that game tonight. But Justin Wilcox came in. He'd just been let go, not renewed at USC in the transition there, and he's kept it the same. And if they improved or maybe even bettered from last year.
Blau throws a strike, has a first down. Cameron Posey out of Boca Raton, Florida, makes his 32nd catch of the season. That is a gain of 13.
Blau can really, as they say, the vernacular, he can really spin it. I mentioned that he beat out Austin Appleby, who's now a starter at Florida, who had beaten out the now starter at LSU, and this guy can really spin it. The ball comes out nicely. He's accurate if his feet are good. That's normal with most quarterbacks. But if they're going to win, it's going to be through Blau's hands, and we saw him play against Nebraska brilliantly.
Blitz coming. They send 5. Blau couldn't find anybody and very wisely threw it out of bounds.
The wind now is it's moving around. I talked to a lot of the punters and snappers that were out early for Purdue on the field. And they said the tricky part is it's going to move all the time. The flags, some of them are going left to right. Some of them are coming across the field. But you can see it is affecting the ball when it's thrown or punted.
Markel Jones on the delay just got back to the line of scrimmage. Connor Sheehy, the nose man, makes the stop. This front three, these guys play very, very hard.
Yeah, and they're missing, we were talking about injuries. Jack Sitchie, of course. They have 3 linebackers out. Chris Orr is out. Zach Bond is questionable. I don't know that I've seen him line up today, but Olive Sangapolu is also out at nose guard, so Sheehy's been the guy who's had to step up and done a nice job.
They're 5th in the country against the run, so you don't expect Purdue to get much. Their calling card is throwing it anyway. Out in the flat, caught, then dropped.
Think Purdue might get 5 here.
They appear to be going
Offside.
with the wind.
Defense. 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
Boy,
Or at least a quartering wind behind them and to the right.
That's a big offsides. I think it was. Right in the middle of the screen there. That's 94, Connor Sheehy, who we were just talking about playing well. He got into the, and now you're 4 downs with this wind. I don't think you're going to kick a field goal here for Purdue. Difficult territory, so you're not sure you need all 5. Of course, you're looking for, you can throw something quick here.
It would be about 53 yards on the try from here. Pressure coming. Blau hangs in the pocket and throws another strike. This is to D'Angelo Yancey, who is number 10 all-time in yards in the Boilermaker record book. Lubern Figaro made the stop. Nice pattern.
Ball a bit to the inside, slant to the outcut. It's a double move. Pretty good coverage, although the feet got tangled up on Figueroa. But that ball a little behind Yancey. Otherwise, he may have been able to turn it up.
Movement again by Wisconsin, getting there early, and it looked like T.J. Watt was the guilty party this time.
Yeah, and of course, left tackle Sermon moved, but he's allowed
Defense
to.
number 42. 5-yard
If the
penalty.
defender across
First
from
down.
him or the gap over breaks the neutral zone.
You won't see T.J. Watt make too many mistakes. He has a great lineage. His older brother plays with the San Diego Chargers as a fullback. That's Derek. And, of course, J.J. All-World as a defensive end for the Texans, hurt now.
And TJ at first was a tight end, had missed a couple of seasons with knee injuries. Finally switched over, and he's had a really productive junior year.
He's showing what he can do now. First and 5. Blau with that short passing game, just trying to pick up 6 or 7 to get the first down, and he does to Yancey.
Well, you can see that Lubern Figueroa is the guy that they want to go at on defense for Wisconsin. Derek Tyndall on the other side, Sojourn Shelton, more of a shutdown, but they're clearing out to that side and putting 7 on 31.
Go with a handoff straight up the middle with Jones.
And this is a very, very veteran, good group of receivers. Bunch of seniors. Jared Parker, the interim head coach, is the receivers coach, so he's had to turn over some of those duties, but this is a special group to him, a bunch of seniors that he recruited, so it'll be their last home game together. But this is a group that has been very consistent. Mentioned they lost one of their better players in Young, but Marshall, Yancey, and we've already seen Posey, who's uncoverable at times.
Langford Johnson on the toss, his first opportunity. Carry it from the tailback spot. Connolly chased him out of bounds. Connolly and Leon Jacobs are splitting time where Jack Sitchie had played in an inside linebacker spot. That was a big loss for them.
And here's Sitchie and Orr, who have they travel along, they listen to the calls, they help with some of the signaling so that they've stayed involved and can help on the field. This, of course, totally legal. They're allowed to be along, and the coaches and players have said it's been a really big help to have them around, and obviously fun for them not to just sit home and watch on television.
Jack Wager, who was their fourth or fifth tailback, number 22, is in the ball game. They fake it to him. The pass behind Yancey, almost intercepted. He was open on the slant, and Blau just missed him.
Yeah, you got to kick it here. You need it there. Let's check out Blau's feet, because this is a quick slant. Feet look okay, and that the wind should not hurt that. It's hard to put that all on the quarterback, but that looks. It looks like he threw it late. He was trying to throw it in what's called the first window before the safety or linebacker cuts it across. It looked like he was late and off, but again, the receiver may have been a step off, but certainly a miss.
J.D. Dellinger, who has hit 7 of 11 field goals, will try from 28. And he gives the Boilermakers on senior day, the freshman gives them the lead 3-0, a 55-yard drive for Purdue.
He's built it there. Technically eligible for a bowl now with 5 wins. A 6th would help, and of course Purdue plays them next week for the old Oaken Bucket and could keep them at 5, but I don't think at the Big House that's going to be a runaway necessarily.
Jamerson is deep, averaging better than 21 yards a return. Fumbled the first try, got it back. And Jamerson has a seam across the 40-yard line. Much better field position for Wisconsin as they start, but they're down 3-0 at Purdue. If they're in the title game, they've got a shot at the play.
Yeah, quick correction, Wisconsin plays Minnesota next week.
Thank you.
Yep. That's what I'm here for.
Clement trying to get to the outside. Nice job by the Boilermakers. They would not let him get outside. They set the edge. Check in with Jerry Punch.
Guys, talking about the wind, it's swirling up top, but down here on the field, it's blowing directly left to right as you're watching it all, directly into Wisconsin's face. Now, in the pregame, the longest punt I saw into the wind was 27 yards. The longest field goal was 37, meaning the line of scrimmage was a 20-yard line. So, and that one barely got in. So the wind certainly a major factor here. Again, right in Wisconsin's face.
Thank you, Doc. Hornibrook has a 2nd and 10 facing him at the 41.
Still a running down, though, I think, in this weather. Just worry about long throws.
Back to throw under pressure, gets away, but only momentarily. And he'll lose a couple. Good pressure from Jalen Robinson.
It almost feels like Wisconsin, in the first drive, they got a little fancy with how many different guys carried the ball out of what formations, and now they get behind. It's still 2nd down, and they go to a straight drop back pass, and Purdue playing very well. They've got their best player back in Jake Raplogle. It's almost like Wisconsin's overthinking it a bit with the weather change. I would think they'd just hand off to Clement and Shaw, who's come on to the scene. Maybe overthinking it a bit here.
It's a team that counts on the run. They've had 10 carries but only 16 yards, and now it's 3rd and long, and the offense is not built for this. Hornibrook back to throw over the middle, completes it. That's the tight end, Troy Fumagalli. And Fumagalli right at the sticks, and now they say it's far enough for a 1st down.
We have to come up with a different position than tight end. I know these guys are 6'5", 250. Well, he's 6'6", 248, but they line up at slot receiver. They move across the formation now. It's really neat in modern football how these bigger bodies have been used, and Fumagalli has become, tight ends have always been a big deal in Paul Chryst' offense, but this guy's become a really good receiver.
It is a specialty position now. Clement, big hole up the middle. Little stutter step to get Mort Clement all the way to the 35.
Well, this is kind of what you'd expect, and you almost wonder if the play callers, Paul Chryst calls his own plays for the most part, but that was a terrific block by John Dietzen. Just blew his guy out of the hole. That's as old school as it gets. That's Alec Ingold going with Austin Ramish having a shoulder issue today, so it sounded like Ingold would get the play, and that was a nice block, but that's kind of what you would expect to see Wisconsin-Purdue.
Clement approaching 1,000 yards this season. Stopped this time at the 37, and our first chance to check in with Cassidy Hubbard.
Loss of one on the play, ball spotted for 36, second down.
Ball 22, I just want to show.
Michigan State would like nothing better than to play the role of spoiler in the last couple of games. Big Ten standings, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. Still a lot of football to be played for those three schools to see who goes to the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis against perhaps Wisconsin.
Well, right now, Wisconsin's got its hands full with a very game group up front for Purdue. Purdue does have very athletic guys. Eddie Wilson's very good. We've mentioned Replogel's now back. He's an NFL player. Marcus Bailey playing well in this front because Wisconsin's going into the wind and already had a bit of an iffy passing game. Right now, Ross Ells, the defense coordinator, saying, I'm just going to play as many guys around the line of scrimmage as I can. And right now, except for straight-ahead runs, Purdue has been winning the battle.
And all year, Purdue has had a terrible time trying to get off the field on third down. However, pressure comes from Jalen Robinson. When we saw Purdue earlier in the season against Nebraska, he had a huge game.
And of course, his dad, Glenn Robinson, the great basketball player. And this is a defense that is the secondary is depleted by injuries and suspension. The front, Jawan Bentley, their starting middle linebackers, not playing, but they do have talent. And they have gotten Wisconsin to third and long, and this is not what this group is good at. It's not what they can do, and the front for Purdue came to play, and they have some good players.
Lottie, very short kick, end over end, takes a good bounce for the Badgers and goes inside the 10-yard line. Punt of 35 yards. And now let's take a look at the AT&T Inside Access as Purdue head coach Jarrett Parker was nice enough today to wear a microphone for us during the pregame.
But I admire what you've done. You've got a great football team. God, they played their guts out for you. Yeah, you got the heart of a champion. Well, let's get today. You hear me? Just compete your tail off. Words can't describe what you've done for this program. You play for your family's name, and I appreciate you. Hear me? Lock in and go get one more. Y'all got it? Go get one more and turn it loose. Here we go. Receiver Pride on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, man.
And they air it out complete down the sideline to Yancey, and D'Angelo Yancey takes the shot from Blau. A big play for the Boilermakers, and their sideline is going absolutely crazy.
That's the end of the first quarter.
And what a great soundbite we heard. The interim head coach / wide receiver coach, Jarrett Parker, saying, Wisconsin, of course, last time they went to the Rose Bowl, which is where the champion, if they're not in the playoff, go for the Big Ten, was 2013. So that's on their radar, of course.
Blau has Markel Jones in the backfield with him, and Jones will get the call. You got to hand it to the play callers. Last play with the wind at their back, they decide to throw deep. That is pretty sharp.
Yeah, Terry Malone, who of course has a long background at Michigan. He coached a guy named Tom Brady there. He's the offensive coordinator for Purdue. And they drew one up nice, and good throw, good catch. And you could see that working one side of the field, they really feel good about Yancey today.
There isn't a throw that Blau can't make. Under pressure here off his back foot, floats it out of bounds. And has to pick himself up for his trouble.
Well, here's where it's tricky because you have that wind.
Quarterback was out of the box, and the ball passed the line of scrimmage.
Third down.
clear of it there, and as long as it goes by, and that's a clean tackle, no reason for a penalty. But now 3rd down and long. There's Malone there with the hat on, but 3rd down and long. This is tough with the wind. Almost like a fade, something down the field. I'm not sure how, or a slant in front of the sticks and hope they can break a tackle. I don't think you want this ball in the air lofting towards the middle of the field.
They loop inside. T.J. Watt got there just in time to make a hit. As the ball was released, they're going to be about 4 yards shy.
And you're the interim
first down. This is sort of no man's land, right?
And this is, you have to go for it because you're the interim head coach. You haven't won a game yet. This is a place on the field. A punt does you no good in this game.
Can't kick a field goal.
Yeah, and especially with the wind right in your face. So great call here. You're going to throw it. I think Blau is a good enough athlete to run. So maybe move him out of the pocket, and they're going to use a timeout here to think about it, which is not the worst idea. But I do think this is a down and distance. You have to go. Even if you weren't an interim head coach, this is that place on the field where a punt, if you kick it in the end zone, you're not gaining much ground here. So this is where you want to go for it.
Well, we already know that Jared Parker's willing to gamble. His first play call from scrimmage was a halfback pass. Of course, it blew up, but he was willing to take the chance. Yeah. Now, delay of game against Purdue, and that may get them to punt the ball.
I know the wind is in your face, and you're starting to feel like, oh, we're in this game, we're playing well, but the cork has come out on Purdue in the second half in every game. That lack of depth, especially playing run defense, just they've fallen on their face. And so I know you feel good, and it's November and it's cold, and we're going to play for some field position. I don't think this is going to be a field position game, and having the ball, I think, for Purdue is a better play here.
Shopper will kick to Peavy.
Remember, they obviously have some fakes too.
End over end. Taken on the bounce, saved a couple of yards at least. Nice job by Jazz Peavy. The kick 28 yards, but Wisconsin will start from its own 13.
State, Ohio State, or Michigan from the east. And easy Purdue. Not sure you want Bama just yet.
I'm sure they don't. Bart Houston, the new quarterback, the senior who started the season. But after he struggled midway through the third game against Georgia State, Hornibrook got his chance. And then in the fourth game, Hornibrook took over as the starter.
And Houston brings a little more pop. You already see him running the ball, a tall, physical guy. Can run a bit more, and now with the wind at the back, you're not really concerned about the throw game, and you can call it a little more, and now Hornibrook goes over the sideline and gets all the plays.
Bradrick Shaw is in as the tailback, and he'll get the toss. Shaw showing that speed down the sideline. Cuts it back to the 45-yard line. The ball came out, but it looked like he was down, and now they signal that he was. A gain of 31.
Shaw is a guy, you mentioned his speed. He had a knee injury, missed a couple of games. He's a redshirt freshman. He's starting to feel more and more comfortable, and he's the back who has emerged as, if you're talking about Wisconsin and their incredible history of great backs, everyone around the program starting to get really excited about Shaw. And his numbers the last few weeks have started to trend up, not surprisingly.
And the history of backs goes right along with the history of offensive linemen, doesn't it?
I think Melvin Gordon could have run without much help at times.
Well, guess who? Replogle. That's what they've been missing most of the year. He already has 6 tackles in this game. And we said last year he had 60 as a down lineman, which is a ridiculous number.
Yeah, and senior day here for Purdue, a group of seniors who have seen a head coach. The guys who were here and redshirted, they went to the last bowl game under Danny Hope before he was let go. And then, of course, they're seeing another change in coaches, so they've been through a lot. But Raploga's tough to block today.
Raplogo got a hand in there. Yeah, he may have been the guy who was held.
He drew the holding. What he's doing is he's getting so low, and then he drops his shoulder and rips up underneath the blocker. And it is so hard if a guy is able to get into your body.
Offense number 66. That penalty's declined. 3rd down.
That's Ben Schwal called for the hold. Boy, Replogle is a very svelte 285.
You know who he's built like? Howie Long. Howie Long
Yes,
used to look like that, where at 280, they look just like a guy who's meant to be 280. And he's very slippery. And as soon as he has a feel of where it's going, he drops that shoulder and gets immediate leverage. And he did a great job of breaking down the hands of Benshaw. And he's got a little pop today.
Pressure coming. They set up the screen. Great call. Ogumbo Wale still in the open field. 30, 25, still on his feet to the 24. Dare Ogumbo Wale, 32 yards. Perfect call against the blitz.
And, well, let's watch our guy, Jake Replogle. You want to play defense, right? You want to play defense? Watch Replogle, 54. He gets held at the line of scrimmage by Micah Kapoy. But look at 54. Hold on, he's not done. Well, he wasn't quite done. He didn't end up getting in on the tackle. But he went from beating his man, being held, and then running down the field. And people talk about, is it harder to play offense or defense? Not even close. The amount of effort for a big guy you have to exert on a play like that is unbelievable.
Cephas end around. Played very well by Leroy Clark. The strong safety takes him out of bounds. You mentioned Replogle reminded you a little bit of Howie Long. He certainly has the Howie Long hustle chasing that play. And if you end up with a third of the career that Howie Long had, you're a great player.
Well, I bring up Howie Long because I have personal experience. He was my nightmare when I was a rookie in training camp. We practiced against the, at the time, Oakland Raiders, and because they went back and forth and back, but they were, the Los Angeles Raiders at the time. And Howie Long was a nightmare for me during training camp. And it's guys who can move their feet and drop and rip underneath of you. It's just hard to get your hands on.
Houston threw that one out in front of Jazz Peavy. He was open, had a step on his defender, and they have not thrown the ball well yet today.
Well, and Purdue is obviously committing a lot of people to the run game, to defend the run game. And so they get some good coverage there. Not a great throw that time by Houston, and that's been the problem for Wisconsin this year. Great defense, great emerging run game. They just haven't been, and they do have some guys with some speed on the outside. They just haven't been consistent in the throw game yet.
Hornibrook with the headset here on 3rd and 8. Houston, another screen. And they set it up very well again. They'll have a 1st and goal at the 3. Ogumbo Wale, for the second time, gets the ball out in the flat with a convoy in front of him.
And DeJuan Hunt, who makes the tackle here, unfortunately drops his head, and he got up like this maybe as he rolls over. You can tell as he dropped his head, you've got to be able to keep your head out there by Hunt. But a terrific call. What great timing by Wisconsin on the another screen when they weren't getting anything going. But let's hope that Hunt's okay. He's got to keep his head up at the end of that play.
Clement back in. Clement near the goal line, stopped just short. In goal, leading the way from his fullback slot.
And if you're Wisconsin, you're one of the few teams left in college football who have the old classic huddle. Okay, you guys line up here, everyone else line up here, and they do lead the country in time of possession. Down 3-0, there is no rush, and if they have an Achilles heel, it's in the red zone. They haven't been able to score a lot of touchdowns, and I think it's because they have been quite a bit lopsided towards the run. You can start to figure that out a bit.
Clement, the deep man in the eye. Instead, they'll give it to the fullback, Ingold. And Ingold gets in there. Alec Ingold finishes off the drive, and Wisconsin gets on the board and takes the lead.
You know, that's a pretty game effort by Purdue, though. I mean, they made them earn almost everything. Some nice play calling by Joe Rudolph and Paul Christ, who calls the plays for Wisconsin, for some timely screens. But other than those, and Purdue has shown up and playing well. I just worry as it goes on with the lack of depth. We saw Replogle. How many yards did he run to try to make that? How many of those do these guys have in them?
Well, you've got to rest him sometime, and when you do, that's when you become vulnerable. It was a pretty impressive 87-yard drive by Wisconsin. And I thought the two best plays on it were those screens.
Yep.
Now they're taking a look at this. Looking at live action, I never saw the ball cross the goal line. But apparently it did upon further review. Endicott drills the extra point. And number 7 Wisconsin is up 7-3 at Purdue. Now, if I was going to have a store, it'd be like this. Harry's Chocolate Shop, established in 1919. Smooth, sweet chocolate and all the way to a smooth chocolate martini is on the fare. Tonight on ABC, the Big 12 battle between number 9 Oklahoma and number 14 West Virginia in Morgantown, with the winner keeping their college football playoff hopes alive. The future of Innocent Couches is on the line at 8 Eastern on ABC, as well as streaming live on the Watch ESPN app and Watch ESPN. Sooners are 7-0 in the Big 12 against the Mountaineers. Mountaineers 5-0 at home.
Baker Mayfield, you got to think he's the front runner after Mr. Jackson falling apart against Houston on Thursday night. And
I don't know if he can fall that far. He had all the first place votes.
Mayfield wins out and they get in the college football playoff.
Yeah, he's got a shot
to
that
get a lot
way.
of votes.
I'm thinking this week. That ball is picked off by Watt. Took it right out of the hands of Blau as he threw it. What a play. What a play by T.J. Watt.
That's got to be it. Yeah, you got to nominate the Sports Center top 10. I know his brother JJ's made that top 10 a few times. But the former
top one?
Yeah, the former tight end mentioned before, he was playing tight end before switching to outside backer. It looked like it stuck in his hands, but he actually tapped it to him. Blau needs to get a little air on that, but terrific reaction not to leave his feet either. He just put his hands up, was not faked out.
He is a young man who is obsessed with football and getting better every day. He works at all of his skills, and like his brother JJ, he came to school here as a tight end and was moved to defense. Doc? What a play by Watt. Rushing the passer, jumps up as Blau releases it and set sail for the other end zone.
Now you get to go after all of that celebration and all the energy exerted with the celebration. Now you get to go play defense again.
Kicked out of the end zone. A chance to check into the studio with Cassidy Hubbarth. Cassidy, thanks so much. Purdue will start from the 25, and they've got to regroup a little bit after that last play that cost them 7.
And remember, the wind stiff today in their face. This is a pass-based offense.
Blau with a fake and keeps. Only got about a yard.
We met with Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator, yesterday. He said we haven't been great running the ball. They get Markel Jones, who's been battling a shoulder injury, as healthy as he's been the last couple of weeks, a very good back, but they have to invent some run game. They're a more pass-based offense this year. Good serviceable offensive line, but they've had a couple guys out, a couple suspensions. They just haven't been able to build it quite the way they wanted to in the run game.
Blau throws off his back foot. The ball comes out of the hands of Bilal Marshall, and we go to Jerry Punch. Doc?
Hey, guys, the wind seems to be picking up somewhat in the field. I want to mention during pregame, David Blau missed 3 of his first 4 passes trying to throw simple slants into the wind. Actually, the wind just blew the ball away from the receiver. He just put his hands in the air and said, what do I do? The guy's 8 yards away, and the wind just took it away.
It makes it tough, and then if your run game isn't working, you're left with virtually nothing.
Yeah, Nate.
Pressure coming on Blau, and you could see that ball move. It made a move to the left of about a yard.
Well, and when you don't throw it clean, Blau was fighting pressure, so because the ball comes out with some wobble on it, it's like when you hit a golf ball off in the wind, it's going to be way off. He has to fall away there. And you could see that thing, because it was off center, not a tight spiral, it immediately started taking a nosedive. That's impressive wind.
The ball was initially going right to the receiver, and you could see him standing there. He didn't move. It was like a curveball. It just took off, and he wasn't ready to hit it. Hunting into the wind, very short, and goes back the other way. It'll be down at the 46-yard line. Kick of only 27 yards into the wind. Let's take a look at today's good hands play brought to you by Allstate. I wonder what it will be, Ed.
TJ Watt on what was going to be a short throw got up in the air. The former tight end was able to tip it to himself. And now Wisconsin on a bit of a roll. That put them up 14-3. They come out and get a 3-and-out again on defense, so the good hands play led to 7. Let's see if the 3-and-out leads to 7 for Wisconsin.
It's the kind of offense that over time wears you down. Clement is the tailback, and of course Purdue's defense subject to being worn down with their lack of depth. Clement runs into his own man and goes down at the Purdue 47.
I really, yesterday is my day, I get to sit in a dark room and watch the coaches' version of how games are taped, where you see all 22 players on one frame, and then the next frame that you see is from behind or the offensive or defensive line. And this is a really impressive group that Wisconsin has put together. I know that goes all the way back. Of course, Brett Bielema kept that going for many years. Paul Christ, of course, came up under Brett, so they have continued a tradition, and this is a young group. 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a junior.
Clement again picks up a yard. He is now up to 955 for the season, trying to become a 1,000-yard running back on this day in Purdue.
Of course, have to mention Barry Alvarez started that trend with great running backs and trips to the Rose Bowl. Now the athletic director and a member of the college football committee. So he will have a vote. He will have to leave the room when Wisconsin is discussed. There's, as everyone will
be
always
out of the
call
room
him.
for a while.
Yeah, exactly. To me, it's a very clear path for the Big Ten. It is the best conference in the country this season. I think the SEC, of course, top heavy, but we've seen both a bunch. We've seen both the Big Ten and the SEC, and I think that the committee and their respect, even if Penn State, if Ohio State beats Michigan, Penn State wins out, they end up in the championship. If it's Wisconsin against Penn State, even in that scenario, I still think you get the Big Ten champions into the college football playoff because of the respect of how good this conference is this year.
Houston has remained in at quarterback. He's looked pretty sharp so far. The last pass completed to Fumagalli, the tight end. Clement, only a couple. And we check in with Jerry Punch. Doc?
Hey, guys, Ed, you mentioned the fact that Barry Alvarez has to leave the room when they're talking about Wisconsin. I talked to Barry on the field a little bit ago. He said when Wisconsin is on the board and they're getting ready to vote, he has to step away. But when they're discussing the other Big Ten teams, which he knows a lot about, he's able to stay in the room. He said, my input, I think, is pretty valuable. So it's just when they're voting on one team only, his team, he has to get up and walk out. But obviously a pretty clear path for the Badgers if they went out.
And the thing, Doc, they took us through that a couple of years ago. We were invited, a bunch of colleagues were invited to go through a mock voting system.
False start. 7.
And what you get in that room is you get detailed notes about every conference. So you know a lot about, so like if you were considering LSU, you would know, oh yeah, they changed quarterbacks. Danny Etling took over. They made a change. So all that detail is given. Of course, Barry Alvarez can give a lot of background in who beat whom and why and who was healthy and those types of things. And that's what you end up laying out when you look at a couple of two-loss teams, say Wisconsin and Oklahoma. Those are the things you'll talk about.
Pressure coming. Houston throws underneath. Wheelwright. Rob Wheelwright lost the ball but got it back and took it out of bounds at the 20. Let me ask you a question about the committee. I have heard people say their number one edict is to select the best 4 teams right then at the moment they vote. Do you think that's true? Do they do that?
I think that's impossible, because I think in that scenario at times there's going to be a 3-loss team, potentially USC, that you're just not going to take a 3-loss over a 2 or a 1-loss. And the losses have to matter, but when you look at teams that have the same, then I think they are clearly looking for the best. But if you have one more loss, I think that tips the scale. I really do.
Houston on the keep, turns the corner. Houston inside the 10-yard line. Let's see where they spot it. That time the tailback was leading the blocking, Shaw, and they'll mark it all the way back at the 13-yard line. So he did not turn the corner successfully, at least. It's amazing we only have 3:45 to go in the first half. This game has really rocketed along because teams are keeping the ball on the ground for the most part. Quarterback keeper again. This time inside the 10, marked out of bounds at the 7.
So when you look at the top 4 remaining schedule, of course, the key ones are going to be Ohio State and Michigan as they tangle at the end of the season. Clemson has, a pretty easy road, but then they have the ACC championship game. They lost to Pittsburgh, so they're not out of the road or out of the woods. Of course, Washington is not a lock to finish with 1 loss. They may go back to the Pac-12 championship and lose to USC with 3 losses. So a lot of things to sort out, but I think the clear road here for the Big Ten, 2 losses or less, they're champions in, and they may get 2 in.
Shaw untouched, and Wisconsin starting to roll it up. That was Paul Christ clapping his hands, by the way. That's about as excited as Paul Christ is going to get, one way or the other.
Well, we can sit and nitpick their pass game all we want. You know what they've done today? They've hit 2 really good screen passes that kept drive going, and that last throw Houston had to Wheelwright to keep the drive going. So they're efficient in the throw game. They're not elite, but boy, they can be elite in the run game. And the way they play defense, especially with the weather changing, I like their chances. Of course, I think they went out and go to the West to represent the West, but I like their chances against both Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State.
I do too.
Jim Everett. You want me to keep going?
Bob Greasy. See if Blau can get something started in the last 3:03. Play action fake, tipped in the air. Blau tries to knock it away and successfully got a hand on it to knock it down, but it's caught on the ground. Intercepted by T.J. Edwards. His second interception. He was the guy that tipped it to start with. Blau did the best he could to get a hand on it.
Great body control by Edwards. And Blau did his knock it to the ground as best he could. And Edwards went and took it from his teammate. And unbelievably for Blau, the Big Ten's best, statistically, the #1 passer. But this is 2 tipped balls for 2 interceptions. First one returned for a touchdown. This one giving Wisconsin the ball on the 19-yard line.
Vince Beagle actually had it in his hands, and Edwards said, give me that.
Hey, dude, I started this. I'm going to finish it. All good. And they're going to review. It looked to me, as we watched, to make sure that Edwards had it, had control of the ball before for the interception.
2 great plays by linebackers.
Yeah, Edwards did a nice job of gaining balance. Defensive coaches talk about when you're going somewhere, it's like you're playing basketball. You have to be on balance. You don't want to lean too much. You still have to be able to move, and Edwards was able to react to the throw by Blau. And they are going to officially review, so let's just make sure. That looks to me like he has control, and maybe the tip of the ball touches the ground, but that's okay. The ball can touch the ground as long as Edwards has control of it while it's touching the ground. I haven't seen a frame yet that makes me question whether he had it or not. This one might be better. And remember, this is what the review booth is looking at.
The ruling on the field of an interception stands. 1st and 10, Wisconsin.
Remember that the officials that are reviewing it are looking at those exact same pictures, so it's not like they're looking anything different than you were, and I agree with that.
The last 3 times Purdue has had the ball, they've had 5 plays, gained 2 yards, and thrown 2 interceptions. Ouch.
Coming into the game, I heard Wisconsin was pretty good on defense. Is that true?
Yes, it is. 3rd in the country in points allowed. They've given up 3 today. They may not give up any more. For the end zone, touchdown. The fullback, Alec Ingold, trots out on the left side, clears everybody, and a nice throw by Houston. Put it right on the money. Sometimes that's a tough throw.
And a tough catch. Ball hangs in a long time for a bigger body guy. Ingold in there. We saw him get a nice block early, and Purdue has just had to sell out everybody at the line of scrimmage to slow down the run. And we've been kind of nitpicky a bit on the pass game. Well, guess what? You start running it, and you could slip out guys like Ingold. House.
Still has his winter gear with him.
Special note that they lost to the Washington Huskies in that Rose Bowl, in case you were wondering. My alma mater.
I wasn't, but thanks for filling it in. Coming up at the half, Stan Verrett and company will be by with the Capital One halftime report. We look forward to that. An update on all the scores. Houston, by the way, is a quarterback coming off the bench, 5 out of 6, 102 yards and a touchdown. And that's one of the reasons that Houston continues to see action as the signal caller.
And the coaches have said that they have not made their decision. They don't have a who goes in or who plays. They want to play them both. They've been very competitive in practice, but Houston obviously have a very nice
Yancey. Beautiful throw by Blau, and Yancey will go all the way for the touchdown. Into the wind, 75 yards. Beautiful throw by Blau. Finally, nobody in his face batting the ball up in the air.
Well, they have found Yancey on that left side long a couple of times, and the coverage switched over. That time they'd moved Tyndall over to that side, but to no avail. This is Yancey's day, a huge day for D'Angelo Yancey, the senior, and Blau, the sophomore, who can really throw it. And then you gotta love it if you Drew Brees and you showed up. It's kind of nice to see one get aired out and see your team try to get back into it.
We've had 3 touchdowns in the last 35 seconds. Dellinger for the point after. And Purdue, team that broke on top 3-0, now gets its first touchdown, but they're down 28-10.
Nice moment there for Jared Parker. The interim's got a bunch of seniors. D'Angelo Yancey, Bilal Marshall, Dominique Young, who unfortunately suffered a knee injury and is out for the rest of the year, and Cameron Posey. Good group.
Before that play, this is a remarkable statistic. D'Angelo Yancey had 7 touchdown catches. He was averaging 48 yards a catch on his touchdowns. That one goes 70. So the average goes up. 70, 75.
Jamerson with return.
And it was Bart Houston who came in early. The Wisconsin offense was facing the wind, and Alex Hornibrook had some struggles in the pass game, as David Blau has, facing that wind. So Houston, more of the running, bigger quarterback, comes in, gives him a little bit of a spark. He stepped out earlier on that run. But because of the ability to run, then he throws a really nice ball to Alec Ingold, the fullback, who had snuck out of a stacked house formation and was completely free. So Houston has given Wisconsin a major offensive spark.
See what the senior out of Dublin, California can do here.
Houston, we don't have a problem.
Clement. That's actually a nice tie-in with Neil Armstrong going to school here. That's very nice.
Thank you. Good patience that time by Clement. You love to see a guy run up and put his hand on the blocker's back. Just nice and slow yourself down. It's a technique a lot of running backs will use to give you a little bit of spacing. Slows you down and gives you a moment of pause before you break out for your run. It's hard for a guy to do that amongst all that chaos.
Clock running, approaching 2 minutes.
Purdue with 3 timeouts left. I'm not sure you'd want to be using them right now, but
Clement just shy of midfield on this run.
If you can get a third down situation, you might start thinking about it. See if you can save some time for your offense. But for Wisconsin, I think this is, let's just keep the ball away from number 10.
Remember, time of possession is huge for Wisconsin, a team that plays great defense and runs the ball. Right now, they are dominating even more than they normally do. They lead the country in time of possession. Here goes Clement with a blocker in front. Great job by Michael Dieter, the center. And this is the 3rd straight game where they've had the same 5 guys starting along that offensive line. They are big and strong, and they can run. That's a great combination.
Yeah, Ryan Ramczyk, in his first year in the program, a guy who was last at University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, there at the left tackle, 65. And Micah Kapoy, a guy who's played a bunch in there now at guard. Bo Benshaw, John Dietzen, terrific player. And, of course, Michael Dieter settled in nicely at center.
Same play. Clement will pick up about 6.
And they can really, they're not only tall, but they're all pretty good, gifted athletes with long arms, and they can push guys. We saw Raplogle early on able to kind of dip under and get some push. That time you see him just get blasted off the ball by Micah Kapoy. And you start to see not just big bodies, but big bodies that can move. They have some reach. They have some athleticism and of course, always really impeccably coached.
Shaw in a tailback, straight up the middle, untouched. Ben Schwal gave him a great block, and he went 33 yards. Fumagalli cleaned out the rest of it, the tight end. Paul Chryst knows exactly what he has on this team, and he plays to it. Remember, he's one of the few head coaches who still calls the plays.
And Shaw, a guy that if you're following Wisconsin, you could hear the rumbles as he got healthier and more comfortable in the entire offense. All of the formations Wisconsin does, all of the pass protection required by the running back. You could tell the excitement when Shaw had the ball in his hands. It's a pretty exciting guy. Now that hole, I think all the running backs would have done
pretty
well,
good, wasn't it?
But you can see that little extra step he has at the 2nd and 3rd level when he's going by linebackers and safeties. He looks like he's got a pretty high ceiling.
What fans need to keep in mind are all those formations amount to eye candy. They're trying to confuse the defense, make them look somewhere they're not supposed to look, and set up these plays. It's something the old Redskins used to do. They said we had 7 plays, we run it out of 30 formations.
Well, and they just don't have a ton of different things that they do. But a lot of times it takes Bo Benshaw there. Sometimes you have to hit your own guy. He's got your man. You've got to go make a hole, even if it's another white shirt. I've had to do that before, and you go, sorry, man, you were in the hole. If you're locked up with your guy, that's my hole. So good job by Benshaw clearing it out.
35-10 Wisconsin.
They are proudly simple. You don't have to do a lot. Couple of zone schemes, couple of what are called counter schemes where you're blocking guys down and you're pulling someone around like we saw there with Benshaw. And other than that, it's all pass protection. And if you show it a bunch of different ways, it does look very different to the defense that you can settle in as an O-line and start rolling in.
Langford Johnson on the return. Across the 25, fighting for extra yards. And they'll have 43 seconds to work with from that spot.
Tackle made by P.J. Rosowski.
If I'm Purdue right now, you've got to make a couple of shots here, I think, don't you? But if you do that and you save some clock, Wisconsin has 3 timeouts, and you might have to give the ball back to them. But I'd like to see Purdue keep their foot on the gas, but I wouldn't blame them if they try to get out with the wind in their face, especially. The wind is horrific.
Loud draw play. Markel Jones.
That gives you a little breathing room. It does. Here. Yeah. Now if you can go fast, remember you have 3 timeouts, so if you're going to get going, don't let a lot of time go off. Let's see after 35 seconds when they get this off.
Did a good job right after the ball was marked ready for play. They were ready to go. And Blau did a good job when his receiver wasn't open right away. Didn't take any time.
Yeah, they just called a route right to the sideline. They're just trying to get to a place where they can maybe get one to the end zone, because remember, there's so much wind in Blau's face. He does have a good arm. I'm not sure until they get close to midfield he's going to be able to get it all the way to the end zone, if that is in fact their choice, which I think they should be doing. Of course, you're down 25. But there is a lot of wind in his face.
Their success has been to Yancey. He is to the near side. Blau now looking that way, gets hit, trying to get away. Flag is down. Unfortunately for Purdue, this is going to come back. Looked like a hold as Blau got almost to midfield.
Well, there was, it looked to me, it does look like that's in the realm of holding, but Connor Sheehy did reach out and get
Personal foul.
Pretty
Face
good
mask.
piece of the
Defense.
face mask.
15 yards from the end of the run.
I'm surprised they called it. I'm surprised they called it, because when I saw it with my naked eye, Sheehy doesn't grab and turn. The helmet does turn, and that's what you look for. But I didn't see Sheehy grab it as Blau went by. I'm not disagreeing with the call. He did grab the face mask. The head did move. I just didn't see him grab it. But what a big penalty now.
And it's huge because it goes from the spot where the run ended. They tack on 15 to that, so it's a monster play.
There's Sheehy right there. And watch as Blau goes by. He reaches out, and it's that head turn that makes the call come. And the umpire called it, and that is the umpire's call, and it was the head turn. But they usually let that go if you don't grab it. But what a big penalty for Purdue. And now with 16 seconds, 2 timeouts, you cannot waste 4, 5, 6 seconds trying to get reset. You can still do a lot of things with that timeout, including run the ball. As crazy as that sounds, just get ready to burn that timeout. And again, you're down 35-10 and wind in your face. This is not field goal territory. I think you get to a place where you can throw a few into the end zone, 2 or 3 maybe into the end zone before you walk out. See if you can't get another cheer out of a famous alumni.
$16 seconds on the clock. Wisconsin showing blitz.
And then backed out, and then Purdue decided to call another play. I love the cat and mouse of being able to call plays from the sideline now.
Blau to Posey, and it's picked off. Intercepted by Leo Musso. His 4th pick of the year.
Musso played this ball perfectly. This was thrown. It was actually a pretty good throw by Blau. He threw it behind Posey, thinking that Posey would make the play on the ball first, but Musso got around beautifully, and what a one-handed stab he made and a catch. Why not another top 10? This is terrific defensive back play. It was not a bad throw by Blau. He threw it early. He threw it a little behind the receiver, which is where you want to go. But Musso was able to get around and make a wonderful play on it.
And talk about guys who come to school, to a college out of high school, and they change positions. He was a 5,500-yard running back in high school. And they said, welcome to the defensive side of the ball.
I'm sure he had pretty good hands out of the backfield, too, after seeing that. He's definitely got some ball skills.
And Wisconsin will kill the clock. 000s, 35-10. When we come back, Stan Verrett and company bring you up to date on the Capital One halftime report after this, and a word from our ABC stations. An impressive guy. who hopefully sooner than later is going to get another shot at this.
And you can tell being around him and the players, everyone here, communication staff, everybody has talked about the energy and drive that Jared Parker has brought here. And it's rare in this business you see a guy that is so clearly set up to be a head coach someday. It may not work out here, but he's got it in his future.
Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary as Purdue will start from the 25-yard line.
As I mentioned, there was a change, not a change at quarterback because Houston and Hornibrook both play, but when Houston came in and the running game got going, they were able to find Alec Ingold on a run-action pass for the touchdown. And then the new star running back at Wisconsin, or emerging star, I should say, Bradrick Shaw, a freshman, gets a nice run there. And then I said 2 interceptions. I meant 3 interceptions, 2 of them by a couple of TJs. TJ Watt with a pick 6, and then TJ Edwards gets the tip and then the rip away from his teammate Vince Beagle for both the pass breakup and the interception on the same play. And so one of the best defenses in the country has shown up to play.
They should recruit more guys named TJ. Offsides on the kickoff, so the ball is moved to the 30. Blau airs it out, and that one is tipped away at the last moment from Marshall.
I love that they come out slinging it, though. And this is really, really nice coverage by Sojourner Shelton. Nice job, too. These guys are so well coached for Wisconsin defensively. First-year defensive back coach Jim Leonard, of course, an All-American here. But he has done just a fabulous job with this group. Of course, new defense coordinator Justin Wilcox. So 2 first-year coaches making big impacts for Wisconsin. That was really well played.
Terrific technique by Shelton, who is starting his 47th straight game. This one is aired out, and receiver Marshall had stopped. There is a flag down.
Yeah, they're going to get T.J. Watt for a personal foul. This is going to be an automatic first down.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 42, 15 yards previous spot, automatic first down.
Let's take a look at this real time, because when you slow it down sometimes, it makes it a little, well, let's give an acting credit to Blau there. You know, he kind of rolled over.
It's almost a hello from a defensive player.
I mean, he just put his hand up. I'm not sure his intent was to knock him down. It looked like to slow him down. That's, in a tight game, I'd be pretty upset. I mean, you're up 35-10, but I'm not sure you want to call that.
They send 5 on the rush, and Watt got there first.
Yeah, you want to call a penalty? Okay, I'll go back and make it up.
That's his 8th sack. He is 3rd in the Big Ten in that department, and he always seems to be around the quarterback.
He's such a long and lean guy, long arms. You see him working, just overpowering Matt McCann, the starting right tackle for Purdue. Not very fancy, but he's got long arms, obviously very energetic.
And it's so much easier when you really don't have to worry about the run, where you can just pin your ears back and go.
And you figure if his arms were a little shorter, maybe he wouldn't have gotten that personal foul.
2nd and 13, blitz coming again, straight up the middle. Blau somehow escaped the first man, but the rest of the guys in white and red got there. Ryan Conley had a chance for a sack and just blew right past the number 43.
Well, and for Justin Wilcox, it's starting to become dial a blitz. Let's move the front. Let's move people around. They have such diverse personnel. They play a base, big body 3-man down type of defense, but because they have the taller, longer guys like Beagle and Watt, Garrett Dooley, who's played nicely when Beagle was out, you're able to mix and match and move people around. And now on a 3rd and a mile, you can play 3 down and back everybody out.
Draw play. Markel Jones swallowed up by Alec James. Remember, this defense is 8th in the country, allowing less than 300 yards a game, and they're 3rd in the country in scoring defense, in spite of the fact that they have played 5 top 10 teams this year. 5.
Yeah, you go through. They played LSU. Of course, that was before LSU made the quarterback change to Purdue, transfer Danny Atling. They played Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State. Nebraska is very good defensively. Iowa's good defensively. So this has been, and they'll play Minnesota, who can play pretty good defense. So this, offense. So this is a really good group. They've seen a lot of good offenses and played really well.
Whistles blow, a really strange formation for the kicking team, and it cost them 5 yards for a delay of game. They had a wide receiver or gunner set up to the right with 3 guys. So Shoppers backed up 5 yards, and Peavy waits for the kick back at his own 30. There's Peavy. Averages a little bit more than 7 yards a punt return this year. Low against the wind. Peavy runs up, muffed it, and Purdue has it.
Well, Peavy never quite felt comfortable. You can see as he was running up to try to catch that, maybe he should have pulled off or thrown his hand up and given himself the ability to catch this without trying to return it. But he just was never comfortable.
Gregory Phillips, a backup wide receiver, was the man who was there on the spot to get it.
And a nice break for Purdue. I know you're down 25, but as Jared Parker told Dr. Punch, we're just going to come out in the second half and see who wins. You know, you go in at the end of this game and you're Purdue and you outscored Wisconsin in the second half. That'd be a pretty big deal for you. I know it's not a win, but that would matter to a group that's just depleted and beat up.
Jones on a handoff gets maybe 1.
And, you know, you think of the disappointment, Mike, for these seniors. They came in with really high expectations. David Blau returning all of those receivers. Markel Jones.
All seniors.
Yeah, Markel Jones had a terrific end of the year. They had a bunch of good defensive linemen coming back. Replogle, who's an NFL potential player. But just injuries, attrition, and then, of course, a change of coach. And it's just been not what they had hoped.
Blau tosses it to Phillips, the man who recovered the fumble on a flanker jet sweep, and he doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, there was 3 guys in white standing there when Phillips got the ball. There wasn't a whole lot of open field on that one.
And you wonder why Purdue keeps going to the run, a team that hasn't had much success with it. Just from a success standpoint, whether it works or not, you have to keep calling running plays.
Well, you can't against a team as good and diverse defensively as Wisconsin. You cannot just throw it every down.
Pressure coming. Blau running to his left and has to throw it away. Got hit just as he went out of bounds, and what's left of the crowd was calling for a flag. Alec James was in hot pursuit.
Well, you know, here you are, 4th down on the plus side of the field. I said in the first half you go for it. I think you think about going for it here, and I would think, okay, we'll look for a fake here. A backup quarterback, Elijah Sindelar, is in, tees to the left in a stack formation. They practiced a bunch of this. There's Sindelar. He has a terrific arm. He's not somebody you'd want covering a punt. So let's take a look, see if it's a fake with Sindelar, the backup quarterback.
Direct snap, they go to Sindelar, and he's going to throw back against this side, and he's got it to the tight end, Cole Herdman. They executed that beautifully.
And a good timely call, because at this stage of the game, punting the ball, you know,
meaningless.
Completely meaningless, and this is something we actually got the tip. Dr. Jerry Punch was at practice the other day and was mentioning how much Sindelar had been working, and this is a really nice throw. It's covered. That ball was completely covered by Leon Jacobs. You cannot fault Wisconsin and how they defended this. This is just a terrific. There's that back shoulder. Throw it behind the guy when he's covered. So you bring in Sindelar, who they are very excited about. Redshirt freshman.
He's out of Princeton, Kentucky. Yeah. Obviously has a good arm, still learning the system. Now Blau trying to escape, does momentarily. Throws on the run and completes to Markel Jones out of the backfield, and Jones has a first down, so a little spark for the Purdue offense.
Well, if there's going to be a change in coaching staff, the new coach has got 2 quarterbacks coming back that are pretty good. Blau is a sophomore. Sindelar is putting on his jacket after throwing a dime to pick up the 4th down. You're in pretty good hands here if you get this job at quarterback.
And very good patience on the part of Blau to let Markel Jones clear the traffic.
And I think Sojourn Shelton gets away with pass interference. This is great Great coverage. It just looked like he was right there. He's leaning on the receiver. He's changing his direction. I think Shelton's, I think you've got to call defensive pass interference on that one. Good position, but it looked to me like he was intending to impede the receiver, and that's the definition, I think, of defensive pass interference.
2nd and 10 for the Boilers, and this pass thrown complete inside the 10. Good throw, good catch by Gregory Phillips out of Lithonia, Georgia.
Nice grab. Ball thrown hard and a little too far inside.
Be 3rd and 5.
Thinking 7 here. So this is where you could sneak even a quarterback draw in, something to kind of throw them off the chart a little bit. Although there are 6 defenders for Wisconsin at the line of scrimmage, so that's an awful lot to run the ball. But if you're not going to go for them 4th.
Blau pressured, and down he goes at the 13. Taken down by Vince Beagle, who missed the Michigan and Ohio State game. 2 huge games with a fracture in his foot. And they are sending out Dellinger at the place kicker. I wonder why you just don't go for it here, don't you?
Yeah. Well, you know, honestly, if you're playing to win the second half, which is not a bad goal if you're Purdue, it's something to be able to tell your seniors, hey, we won the second half. You're up 3-0 in the second half. I'm just trying to make a little lemonade here. Boy,
the trophy for we won the second half is pretty small, isn't it?
Got to sell something if you're Jared Parker. Senior day, got a rough go if you're Purdue. How about an onside kick? If you're going to pull out all the stops, let's do it right here. Plus, you have Indiana next week on the road. You want them to have to practice against a bunch of this stuff.
I would point out to you, it's been senior day all day, not just the second half.
Well, they didn't get many chances on offense there, especially in the second quarter.
That's true.
With the way Wisconsin ran the ball.
With the win, they're going to have to hold it, and Dellinger will kick it away. And Jamerson, kicking into the wind, is all the way up to the 10-yard line. He's going to have to come up even further than that. One of the up men will take it and crosses the 35 to about the 39-yard line. Coming up later this afternoon, Indiana at the Big House to take on number 3 Michigan at 3:30 Eastern on ESPN, as well as streaming live on the ESPN app and Watch ESPN as Michigan tries to bounce back.
And in the Big Ten East, a big upset brewing as L.J. Scott's having a massive day against Ohio State, and the Michigan State just battered Spartans that had a terrible season, a tie 10-10 in the third quarter. I don't think there's any scenario, if you want the Big Ten to have 2 reps or have a clean path to the championship, that you want Ohio State being upset by a Michigan State team today.
Well, that would hurt a lot. Clement.
Well, if Ohio State loses, then Penn State, then it's just down to Penn State and Ohio State, or excuse me, Penn State and Michigan. Michigan wins out against Indiana today and Ohio State next week, they're in. But if they were to lose to Ohio State, then Penn State, who holds the tiebreaker because they beat Ohio State head-to-head, they'd be in. And I think Penn State actually starts to look pretty good if they end up winning out, because they would have a win against, of course, in the championship. They've beaten Ohio State, and they blew out Iowa, who beat Michigan. So pretty decent resume for Penn State.
Clement again takes the ball up to midfield. Hornibrook in at quarterback, and Clement is now a 1,000-yard rusher. Been a long history of that here at Wisconsin.
Guy who missed 2015 with what ended up being a sports hernia, had to have surgery in the offseason. Tried to play at the beginning of last year, especially in the big early season games, just didn't have it, had to shut it down. Got the surgery and has been healthy since.
I think here are the things that are in favor of Wisconsin when if they do get into the Big Ten championship game. They are a better team running the ball, and I think a better team defensively now than they were when they lost close games to Michigan State and Ohio State. I think that bodes well for them.
No doubt. And again, that goes to the knowledge of the committee as they're talking through each team. They will clearly know that, and they'll know that Wisconsin got much, much better, especially on their offensive line.
I said when they lost to Michigan State, I obviously meant Michigan.
Yeah. But if Penn State, because they have the head-to-head against Ohio State, if Ohio State were to lose today, then it's down to just Michigan and Penn State. Penn State with Rutgers, then Michigan State next week. And, of course, Wisconsin, if Nebraska were to lose, would win, and they control their destiny because they play Minnesota next week.
Clement again, and certainly with the performance that Michigan State is putting up against Ohio State today, they'll get Penn State's attention, win or lose.
Yeah.
But Paul Chryst could care less about anybody else. Got to take care of his own business.
You know, what he preaches is have fun in the process. They really do try to make it about being excited about, not, you know, a lot of people use the word, oh, it's a grind, but Chryst really pushes on have fun with just being in the moment, doing the thing you need to do to take the next step. He really works hard at that and does a nice job with it. 2nd
and 6, Shaw checks in, drilled behind the line of scrimmage. Marcus Bailey was there, and Navon Mosley, the safety.
I will say that this Purdue group plays hard. They don't have enough defensive players. This is a group that's been ravaged by both injury and suspension, but they do play hard. Ross Ells in his first year as defensive coordinator did a nice job of patching together, in some instances in secondary, with 3rd and 4th string walk-ons just to try to hold this together.
Wisconsin is 6 out of 8 on 3rd down against a team that hasn't stopped people all year long on 3rd down. Pass underneath to Ogunbo Wale, and he's got the 1st down, and we check in with Cassidy Hubbard.
Gain of 5, ball spotted at the 25.
Pretty tough team right there, the Cowboys.
There's an injured Boilermaker, not a good thing to say at any time, but especially
last thing they needed.
Yeah.
Gain of 10 on the previous play, ball spotted at the 25.
And that's Andy James Garcia, linebacker. They're already missing Jawan Bailey, or Bentley, excuse me, their starting middle backer, who's been battling an ankle injury all year. Marcus Bailey, who's a really good linebacker, redshirt freshman for Purdue, has had to move around quite a bit. He was the one who made the tackle on that last play.
And this is the kind of Wisconsin response that I'm sure Paul Chryst wanted to see after that turnover in the field goal, is just march it right down the field. That ball's loose. Clement put it on the ground, and somehow Wisconsin got it back. Looked like Fumagalli, the tight end, was the man who made the recovery.
Terrific job by C.J. Parker. He goes in there, it's like you're starting a lawnmower. Get in there and get that. Well, it was already starting to come loose as he ran into his own man. But very lucky that Fumagalli was over there finishing his block and falling on it. But that ball was coming out before Parker got there.
Shaw dives back to the line of scrimmage.
And guess who was there to greet him? Jake Rapoglu. Again, Rapoglu just having, the guy's missed a bunch of time with concussion-like symptoms, was cleared to practice this week, was able to play a couple weeks ago, but then had to sit down. But he has been just a handful, almost unblockable, which is hard when you're defending the run to quickly move as fast as he does to get an edge. That's tough to do.
Third down and 10, 4-man rush. And a touchdown. Perfect throw to Peavy. The defender, Mosley, never saw the ball. It whistled past his helmet for 25 yards and a touchdown. Nice throw by Hornibrook.
And the pass game that has not been dominant this year, of course, Wisconsin continues to be very efficient, and they continue to make plays. So you know, you start to feel like you're nitpicking a little bit that they're not as great in the pass game as maybe they'd want to be, but it's not like they're missing much either with that run game behind it.
Point after is good, and Wisconsin ups the ante to 41-13 with 3:23 to go third quarter.
College football presented by Jarrett the Galleria of Jewelry. Brought to you by the all-new Honda Ridgeline for truck-tough things and everyday things. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling. And the Quicksilver Card from Capital One. Earn unlimited 1.5% cash back every purchase, everywhere.
Drew Brees, the 3-year starter for the Boilermakers from 98 to 2000. Just an absolutely brilliant college quarterback who has continued his superiority in the pros. And he's back this week because they played on Thursday night. Chance for a busman's holiday.
A who?
It's an old saying. Jerry Punch will catch up with the All-Pro quarterback when we come back to Purdue.
Maxwell Award finalist for the Heisman. And by the way, a Super Bowl MVP, Drew Brees. Hey, thanks for being back here on Senior Day.
It's great to be back. You know, we don't get this opportunity very often, but we played on Thursday night this week, so we had the chance to come back here and catch the Purdue-Wisconsin game, Purdue Senior Day. I got a chance to talk to the team last night. I'm actually here with my 2 college roommates and their wives as well, so we're enjoying the weekend together, and I think this is going to be the start of something really great here with Purdue athletics and Purdue football. Obviously, it's been a tough year, but we're looking for great things in the future here.
I'm sure you are. By the way, this is Brittany, his lovely wife. I'm sure I didn't introduce Brittany at the beginning before you or I either one. I got to ask you, speaking of Senior Day, let's turn back the clock to your Senior Day. Back in November of 2000, what was a very crucial and landmark game for you? What do you remember about that day?
Well, I know this. If we won that game, we were Big Ten champions and we were going to the Rose Bowl, which was our goal when we all got here as freshmen. You know, we were bottom of the Big Ten at the time, but we made that commitment to one another, our recruiting class, that by the time we left here, we were going to be Big Ten champs and headed to the Rose Bowl. And it was a chilly day, night game. We brought the lights in for it, and you know, we beat up on Indiana, got the old Oaken bucket, and better than that, we got to put the roses in our mouth and say we're going to the Rose Bowl.
Always good to beat your arch rival on a big day. Hey, your coach, Joe Tiller, took this program to 10 bowl games in 12 years here. Why was he so successful?
Yeah, it's pretty unprecedented. Listen, Joe came in with a plan. He came in with a plan. He was, first and foremost, he was going to get the right type of guys in here. He put great value in character, intelligence, and toughness. That's who he went out and recruited. Because talent doesn't always win for you, but character, toughness, and intelligence wins for you. And he went out and got the right type of guys, and he began to build the program the right way. And I can't say enough about the Boilermaker faithful and all those people that love this university and are so invested in this university, because those are some great years, and we want to get back to that point.
I know you care so much about your alma mater. What needs to happen here to get this program back to where it needs to be?
Well, I know what it was like for us coming in back in 1997 as part of Joe Tiller's first recruiting class. I know what it took to build that program and the values that we held dear, and I mentioned them when you talk about the guys that you recruit. Obviously, we're looking for a new head coach right now, and I'm not sure exactly when that decision will be made, but that process is underway. And first and foremost, it's about getting the right guy in that position, a guy who we know can build a program and recruit the right type of guys, and get us back to where we're vying for Big Ten championships.
I can't let you go without asking you. I know you're the face of a lot of things in the NFL with the Saints, but you're also a dad, and I love your tweets about your boys playing pickup football in the backyard. How important is you to maintain that perspective as a dad?
Listen, that is my number one priority, and my greatest calling in life is to be a husband and father. And we got 4 beautiful children, 3 boys and a little girl. Those 3 boys are something else now. They're ages 7, 6, and 4. Balin, Bone, and Callan. All they want to do is play sports. All they want to do is just wrestle with each other and tackle each other in the backyard. So honestly, for me, those are some of my greatest moments, is just having that time with them.
Well, you're a great role model and a great dad. Okay, we got another minute. I'm going to ask you, Thursday night, I know a tough one for you guys. Turnovers, another block kick. You gave away some points, but you said very well after the game, it's a very close-knit locker room, and you got 3 divisional opponents coming up. What's the mindset for you guys and the Saints now going down the stretch?
I know this. We're not going anywhere, and there's a lot of football left to be played. Everybody in our division is pretty close in regards to record. Atlanta, us, Carolina, Tampa. We still have 3 division games over the next 6 games. There's no more important game than our next one, which is at home against the LA Rams. But, it's really the story of our season has not been written yet, and we got to dig ourselves out of a little bit of a hole, but I think we know what it takes. We know what it takes to win, and we just got to get it done.
Hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for all you're doing here, and thanks for being such a great role model for people in the sport and a great dad.
Thank you.
Drew Brees, guys.
Jerry, wonderful interview as always, and a lot to admire in that guy. Speaking of the NFL, Monday Night Football comes to you from Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. A couple of teams, the Texans and the Raiders, that sit atop their divisions. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6 Eastern on ESPN, as well as streaming live on Watch ESPN. And the Raiders will be coming off a bye week. It's nice to see that they're relevant again.
Yeah. Texans, of course, without J.J. Watt, the Wisconsin grad. Still battling some injuries, not able to go. Brother T.J. doing quite well here today, though.
Isn't he ever? Clementou has gone over the 1,000-yard mark for the season in this game.
Well, one of the reasons Drew Brees is here is he is helping the master plan around the athletic department to improve the facilities. And working on a Saturday. This is the new football complex, which will house the coach's office, weight room, medical facilities. And they'll be open by August, and that is next to their indoor practice facility. So even while they are in the search for a coach, this is a program that has hired a new athletic director. Mike Babinski's brought some energy to the program. They've got good benefactors behind them helping them do projects like this. So this is a job where you can win. It's not easy here. Remember, Notre Dame and Indiana and everyone else in the Big Ten and everyone else in the ACC will come in here and recruit. But this is a place, if you come and you can get quarterbacks. And right now on the roster, they have a sophomore and a freshman quarterback who look pretty good. So if you're a coach coming in for a rebuilding project, if you have a quarterback, it's always nice, as we know, to build around one of those guys.
And if you want it, you can also get a pretty decent education here.
Yeah, that's that, and that is what I give Jared Parker, the interim head coach. He was the recruiting coordinator, and he has kept that job, and he and their recruiting staff have worked really hard. They've told the guys, go look other places, have your minds open, but this is such a good university. Keep us on your radar, and they've worked really hard because they're able to say, you don't just come to Purdue for football. It's pretty good education.
That's the end of the third quarter. Wisconsin continues to dominate the Boilermakers at home. This presentation of college football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Degrees. Today, their udders are chilly. Cal's got you that much, huh?
Oh, yes, they did. Oh, my goodness.
Peavy with a little bit of a drop in cold air, not that unusual, although he's from Wisconsin, so you figure he'd be used to it. But it really did. From yesterday to today, it went from fall to winter. Ball gets a lot harder.
They have 10 men at the line of scrimmage, put on the pressure and almost got there. Flags are down because the punter was hit. And the ball will roll dead inside the 30. Now we'll check the markers.
Tough to... Purdue almost got there, and one of their guys, as he was finishing through, caught the leg of the punter, Lottie. So this, I believe, is going to be a
Running into the
15-yard.
kicker, number 9 kicking receiving team.
Either way, it's
5-yard
first
penalty.
down. It was 4th and
Yardage
4.
results in a first
Yeah,
down.
you're right. Full block is on.
You can't hit him.
And that was DeJuan Hunt who caught his leg there.
You have to
Yeah.
protect the punter.
But you can't blame Hunt. He was jumping in front of. You wonder if he didn't trip over his own man, if he would have been able to avoid him. But he did have the right angle to try to take it off the foot. You try to go right in front of him so you can catch it right on his foot. So his angle was okay, just ran into his own man, wasn't able to hold up.
Hornibrook is the quarterback, and Clement is back in at tailback. Clement straight ahead, and we check in with Cassidy Hubbard. Cassidy, thanks very much. We have 14-16 to go here, and Wisconsin in command. And with their running game, you get the feeling they are just going to try to punish Purdue here in the 4th quarter.
You know, one thing that comes up a lot at this time of the year is, should you run the score up when you're in command? You know, of course, Bobby Petrino a few weeks ago, before they get blown out by Houston, said, oh, well, I want to be a sportsman. From what I've learned from the committee, it's not the final score. It's were you in control of the game? Was there ever a place where it didn't look like you were the superior team? So they try not to look at all at final score, more were you in control of that? And then, of course, that goes back to the reports you get and all the reporting you get on the Big Ten. There's Barry Alvarez, the athletic director of Wisconsin, who's also on the playoff selection committee for college football. But they really don't want to be looking at final scores as much as, did Wisconsin look like against Purdue they were in control the whole game? And except for probably 8 minutes of that first quarter, yeah, they have been.
So let me pose this. It would be more important to get up 28-0 in the middle of the second quarter than it would be to win 56-0 at the end of the game, where you might have done most of it in the second half.
Well, the way it was explained to us, and they do have some data it's called game control, where they try to say they were in control this many minutes of the game. So they try to look at it with some data, but they don't try to look at score. Just, you can, when you watch a game, if you really watch it, you can sit and say that team was never out of control. It was never within question. It didn't matter if they were up 10 or up 20. Did they feel like they owned the game? And I think that's key in a game like this for Wisconsin. They've owned this game. No matter what the final score is, it won't matter.
I agree with that more, because what you're saying now is tending more toward the eye test. When you watch a game and say, okay, they just dominated from the beginning, which I think is better than metrics saying, did you have game control? That seems a little silly.
Well, I think, and the committee is trying to watch as many of these games as they can to try to get an essence of that. And of course, you have a lot of people with coaching in their background that are able to watch film and see that even more closely, dissect it even more closely. But as you start, the key thing that happens in teams that they're trying to decide who goes in is you lay the schedule down next to each other, wins and losses. And when you do that with Wisconsin and say they're laying that against Oklahoma, perhaps out of the Big 12, if they win out, they will have beaten Michigan, they will have beaten LSU, they will have gotten back the loss essentially to Michigan or Ohio State if they played them, or have beaten a very good Penn State team. And when you lay that out against Oklahoma and their schedule with loss to Houston in there, I think it leans favorably. I think both of the schools may get in, but that's what they'll look at, is just schedule to schedule.
Well, to take Wisconsin's side of the argument, if they reach the Big Ten championship game and all they have to do is win out to do that, they would be playing their 6th top 10 team of the season. You show me somebody else that's got anywhere near a better strength of schedule than that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we've learned Michigan State's not quite a top 10 team, but at the time
when they were,
they were a top 10 team. And this is a team, you made a good point earlier, Mike. This is a team trending towards getting much, much better. They've been good to elite all year defensively, but now you're starting to see them trend offensively Still going to go back and forth with the quarterbacks because that's what they feel comfortable with, but they have a really, really productive run game.
Just a couple of links shy of a first down. Expedia reminds us we're here at Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana, for another Big Ten ball game, and you can put the pin right there. Fourth and 1.
And this is not about running up the score. This is about running out the clock.
Sure.
Would be why you're going for it here on fourth down.
But I think running it up would be trying a field goal. Don't
yeah,
you?
Well, the risk there, you get it blocked in return, and all of a sudden things get wacky.
Quarterback keeper, plenty of distance for the first down to move the chains. I think Houston really acquitted himself very well today coming off the bench. Was able to run the ball and threw it very well.
They threw a really nice ball to a fullback on a difficult throw to Alec Ingold for a touchdown. He's a big physical guy.
I don't think either one of us are a big fan of a 2-quarterback system, but I like the way they do it better than, okay, you're going to play this many plays or you're going to play this many series than the other guy does. They do it on a field basis.
It seems to be where I've been in places where we played more than one at quarterback, and so long as the guys are consistent, meaning they come in, they both have command of the huddle, they both know the offense, it's a pretty easy transition for the other guy because you're used to in practicing with different guys, different mixes of guys. But that is a position where getting into the lather and feel of the game seems to be as important or more important than any position. So it's rare, but it is working very well for Wisconsin.
Well, combined today, the quarterbacks are 11 of 14 for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, they were efficient. Remember in that first half when it was a bit more competitive. Really nice calls by Chris and Joe Rudolph, his offensive line coach and offensive coordinator, to go a couple of screens. And then as they got the run game going to the fullback for a long touchdown. And that really was kind of when the levee broke a bit for a game that we felt like was going to be a mismatch. It wasn't until the offense got a little bit going in the throw game that it became that.
Here's the advantage Purdue would have over other teams if they can get in the Big Ten championship game and then the
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. This ground game, keeping the ball away from the other team, maybe a more high-powered offense. This is a great tool to have.
Well, they're going to be playing, if they play Michigan, that's a pretty good front. That's one of the, if not the best defense in the country, one of the best 2 or 3 in the country.
Nice throw, nice catch there by Cephas.
Ohio State not as numerically good as Michigan, but as talented as Michigan. So it's not going to be as easy as it is against the Boilermakers.
No. But they obviously have the skill to challenge anybody on the ground. Now we're facing another fourth down. This about a yard. They need to get to exactly the 7, so maybe a foot and a half for a first down.
That was Baker Mayfield shushing us on the bottom left there. If you're a Big Ten fan, you're rooting for West Virginia today. You would like the Big 12 eliminated from the conversation.
And that would pretty much do it.
Yeah.
Ingold, the backup fullback, has had a pretty good day today in relief of Austin Ramish, who's been banged up for the last couple of weeks.
This is just got to be painful for Purdue to play defense against this. What do you do? And it's not like they're getting run out of the building. They've given up a couple of plays, but remember this was an interception return for a touchdown that started the scoring, and for Wisconsin kind of started this deluge, not on your side of the ball.
Straight up the middle goes Clement.
Clement, the ball carrier, touchdown, Wisconsin.
And you're right, this just wears you down both physically and mentally.
Well, and on a cold day, your offense is over there sitting there getting colder and colder and colder.
Clement's got a lot to celebrate today as he's gone over the 1,000-yard mark.
He did the Baker Mayfield shushing as he went in for that touchdown.
Another back-breaking 15-play drive that ate up 74 yards in almost 8.5 minutes on the clock. 7:41 left, Wisconsin rolling. Watt with his first career interception. They'll never have one that's any more spectacular than that. And the Wisconsin defense, another great day for that unit. Langford Johnson on the return for the Boilermakers. Stopped at the 27-yard line. 7:35 to go from West Lafayette. Back after this.
Something in sports athletics. Bowling is a sport. So
yes, it is.
If you teach basketball, you got to teach bowling. That was one of the things at the University of Washington where I went. My buddy went to Iowa State. He got credit for football practice because they had a physical education department. So he got credit. That always bummed me out a little bit.
I can understand that.
Give me credit. Won a national championship. So
but no credit.
No credit. Well, we did get
Phillips
credit
with the catch.
We did get credit for the national championship.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Got the ring, right?
Yeah. It's in a Ziploc baggie in a shoebox somewhere, I think.
Most people have better displays than that, Ed. Blau gives him a pretty good future in the passing game. Kid can really spin it. Langford Johnson, the tailback, rips off a big one down to the 30-yard line, a 35-yard gain.
Well, Wisconsin's
for the freshman.
If you notice, Wisconsin's jerseys on defense got a lot whiter after the last drive. This is all second and third and fourth stringers now in for the Badgers. They switched out their entire defensive line. Billy Hirschfeld now has come in at defensive tackle and not quite up to the stuff of those first stringers.
But these guys live for this. They really deserve the playing time.
Oh, they do. And there's still some first line guys. That was Ryan Connolly in there. Of course, you can't travel as many when you're in conference, so you don't quite have the depth you would have at home to be able to play. But there are some new guys for Wisconsin.
Blau looks for the end zone and just overthrown, just out of the reach of D'Angelo Yancey.
Well, he's battling with Sojourn Shelton.
Pretty good corner, has been beaten a couple of times today.
Excuse me, that was Titus Booker. That looked like 8, but it was actually 9. So going into the depth, that's the freshman Booker instead of the senior
Yancey has 5 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown today. And Jason King, starting left guard, jumped early.
Offside, defense number 96. Jumped in the neutral zone, forcing the offense to react. 5-yard penalty, yardage results in a first down.
Hasn't been a game this significant in Morgantown, West Virginia in quite a while as number 9 Oklahoma comes calling tonight. 8 Eastern on ABC, as well streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Mountaineers undefeated at home this year, and it's always a rowdy bunch at Mountaineer Field.
Oklahoma coming in with maybe the hottest offense in the entire country. Dede Westbrook at receiver has been amazing. Joe Mixon, who we saw last week, is a little bit of a different guy. And Mayfield, who went to New York last year, finished 4th in the Heisman, is having arguably a better season this year than he did last year. And after losing basically Sterling Shepard, who's his best receiver. So Oklahoma's having another nice season.
Gregory Phillips makes that catch. He has played more since Dominique Young went out with a season-ending injury. And it's 2nd and 5 for Blau. Clock running. We've reached the 5.5-minute mark. Blau rifles this one complete to Bilal Marshall. and it will be a first down for the Boilermakers.
Small thing, but Garrett Dooley, number 5 from Wisconsin, when he came over there to finish off that tackle, you know, a lot of times you see guys come in to blow people up, but Dooley came in instead of trying to blow up and just make a tackle. It's nice to see guys come in with body control. I noticed that with Wisconsin. When they come in to make tackles, they're not head down, they're not launching. I just noticed good body posture, and I saw that time with Dooley.
You've got to credit coaching for that, don't you?
Yeah, you work a lot on that. Justin Wilcox, of course, a former linebacker himself at Oregon. His dad was a pro linebacker. But
Langford Johnson makes 3 guys miss, finally knocked out of bounds.
But with not just the change in the rule, the targeting rule, when you go flying in, you're opening yourself up for a penalty, but it's bad technique. If you go down and your eyes are down, it's hard to slow down if someone makes a change. And Dooley comes off. It looked like he maybe hurt his right hand during that last play, the one where I was commending his body position on the finish of the tackle. It looked like he may have hurt his hand.
2nd and goal for Purdue with the clock running. And a touchdown to D'Angelo Yancey. He beat Titus Booker on the fade, and another nice throw from Blau.
And a good learning experience for Titus Booker. He's in there for this exact reason. He's got nice position. He's actually in good position. We saw earlier when Musso was able, the senior, to turn back, but that time Booker not able to turn back. Not bad position. And a good learning experience. There's Justin Wilcox, the defensive coordinator. First year after the transition at USC, was hired when Dave Aranda decided to take his act south to the SEC.
And with Wilcox, they haven't missed a beat. And with 4:15 to go in the ballgame, Purdue has put 7 more on the board. It's 49-20.
Has not exactly been blanket-like. I don't know if it's the blankets or Snoop Dogg keeping them warm.
I vote for the blankets.
I don't know. You move your hips, you get a little warmer.
Wisconsin had no one deep, expecting an onside kick perhaps, and they'll down it at the 22-yard line. Corey Clement hustled back to get the ball.
Today, if they were to beat Michigan, then Penn State, if they went out against Rutgers today, Michigan State next week, then it would be Penn State. And I think it's a pretty safe bet. The team from the West is going to be the team in white on your TV screen right now.
Bart Houston comes back in at quarterback, and Ogunbo Wale is back in at tailback.
And for the 4th time in the 6 years of the existence of the Big Ten Championship, if Wisconsin gets to go to the championship, it will have been Wisconsin from the West, or Wisconsin in the championship game, which is quite impressive.
Yes, it is.
And of course, there was a change of coaches. Brett Bielema left to go down to Arkansas. Gary Anderson came in for just 1 season, and then they went and got Paul Christ to come home from Pittsburgh to be the head coach. So pretty amazing consistency given the changeover in coaching that's happened in the last 5 years.
The other thing, I can't remember, I mean, the Big Ten is always good. I can't remember the Big Ten being this good.
It's really
They're
solid.
just absolutely loaded. Now let's take a look at today's Player Spotlight, brought to you by America's Navy. And it's Corey Clement, who's gone over the 1,000-yard mark today with his 14th career 100-yard game. And he has had 5 of the last 6 he has gone over 100. So he is trending up along with the rest of the rushing game and that defense. Another first down for Wisconsin.
That's
they
a different
continue to
hairdo.
work on the clock.
That's a different hairdo for Mr. Clement.
Tonight on ESPN after Pac-12 football, catch SportsCenter at night, Bucci and Anderson. All the college football, NBA, college basketball highlights, along with everything else from a packed sports day. SportsCenter at night after USC and UCLA, that great rivalry on ESPN, as well as streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
We just got news that Michigan State went for 2 and failed. So Ohio State will get the ball back. Well, there'll be an onside kick, I would assume. But it looks like the Buckeyes may survive. Talk about survive. Holy cow, against the Spartans, who'd lost 7 in a row.
Going for the win.
And if you're a Big Ten fan, of course, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 forever linked through the Rose Bowl. But you would be a big USC fan right now. You want USC to ride all the way to the championship game. And maybe they get a rematch and beat Washington, because that gives you a 3-loss champion of the Pac-12 conference. And I think that would open the door for 2 Big Ten teams to get into the playoff, because back to what you were saying, no, this is as good as this league has been, I think, in a long time, top to bottom. And a lot of it has to do with they've hired great coaches. They've spent the money to get some of those coaches to come. Jim Harbaugh going to Michigan. Of course, Urban Meyer coming out of a quick little retirement from Florida to go to Ohio State. And now it'll be Purdue's turn. See if they can get in that mix and hire someone who brings this back to a Joe Tiller level of competition.
Quick chance to check in with Cassidy Hubbard. Cassidy.
One on the play recovered by Houston for Wisconsin.
Give me Blau, 11.
4th down. Lobby in punt formation. Marsh Hilty.
Still time left, though, in that ball game in Michigan State's upset bid. And Wisconsin has to kick it away with 32 seconds on the clock. The ball comes loose. Purdue got it back, and there is a flag down. I think that's going to be interference with the catch after a 42-yard punt.
Phillips with recovery penalty marker on the play.
A little early for
Kick catch
Figaro.
interference. Kicking team number 31. 15 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
You know, we just saw that highlight of Austin Appleby from Florida. And we talked, Purdue's nickname is the cradle of quarterbacks. It's unbelievable. David Blau, the starting quarterback for Purdue, he beat out Austin Appleby, who then transferred to Florida. And before that, Austin Appleby had beaten out Danny Etling here at Purdue.
Who transferred.
Yeah, so transitive property. David Blau has given a starter to Florida and LSU in that game. So the new staff that comes in here, you can recruit quarterbacks. There's a great history. Drew Brees, of course, Kyle Orton recently. And there's 3 of them starting in college. There are 3 Purdue quarterbacks starting right now in college football.
Wager gets the carry as Sindelar checks in as the quarterback for the Boilermakers, and they are in no hurry to run another play.
Now for Wisconsin home to take on the Minnesota Gophers, a pretty game team with some pretty good athletic skill on offense. But the way Paul Chryst's team is playing, I'm not sure the Gophers are going to be able to hang in Camp Randall.
5 in a row now for Wisconsin and Paul Chryst as their march toward a championship continues. For Ed Cunningham and Dr. Jerry Punch, Mike Patrick saying so long from West Lafayette. Now we send you to Stan Verrett with the College Football Countdown, presented by Nissan.